Hey, it's MJ from the Coaches Panel. I hope you're well, and I trust you've been enjoying this series as I review every single player that moves club during the off-season via the mechanism of trade and free agency. Give you my take on what it means for the club they've left, the club they've arrived at, and for us that play AFL Fantasy, SuperCoach and Dream Team in 2024, what does it mean for us about this player and the kind of the clubs around him? What does it mean for us in 2024 and beyond? Talking about the new Melbourne Demon, the former Adelaide Crow, Shane McAdam. What does it mean for the Demons? For them, I think this is a beautiful pickup for them. I know there's been a lot of talk about the dysfunction in this forward line, but I think they're really quite close to having this forward dynamic absolutely settled and becoming a real weapon and force. Let's talk about probably one of the best small and dynamic forwards in the game before we talk about Shane specifically. Kozzie Pickett is an absolute wrecking ball. He is a strong, fierce competitor, classy, smart, really strong through his hips, loves to take on the game, is very comfortable to take on his opponent, and just can do some mercurial stuff, both in the crumbing space and also when he's just got a little bit of an opportunity to get a turn of speed and break on his opponent. My goodness, he can really create some fast separation. So from a small perspective, I like it. Then you've got a really nice hybrid tall lead up mark option that didn't really have a great year in Bailey Fritsch, but you go back to that 2021 premiership season from Melbourne, not just that grand final, but that year he was at his dynamic best. He's a really hard matchup, and I think he, if he can get back to full form, is amazing. Petty and Van Rooyen are the key tools in this team. The club have come out and been very, very adamant that that's where they see these two playing it. Van Rooyen will be the relief ruck role to Max Gawn, and Petty, while he'd hope to get to the Crows, will spend at least another 12 months. Barring some late season shenanigans, he'll spend the next 12 months as a Melbourne Demon. So these guys are some nice key tall options for them. They've got a really nice hybrid third tall and a beautiful small in Kozzie. And then you've got guys like Spargo, Neil Bullen, even a Petrarca can roll through that fifth forward spot. So where does McAdam fit in? In a couple of different areas. Shane's this really fascinating player where pressure forward is not how I would describe him. What he is an athletic marking option that, while not tall, man, he can find a way to get on top of people's heads and take some absolute screamers. He's really got a nice turn of speed to create separation and get some marks on the lead. And while not a dynamic crumbing forward, especially in comparison to a Kozzie Pickett, he's certainly has shown as a Crow, he's really got some wheels about him. So I really love this for Melbourne. He's more of a high-flying mark forward option, but he also can get and create space on his opponent. He's not a mid-forward. He's a guy that will be established predominantly through that forward line, which means if they want the opportunity of playing Petrarca as a full-time midfielder, they can. And whether it be a Spargo and a Neil Bullen that kind of rotate through this forward line, then absolutely they can do that. But Shane McAdam will be a beautiful addition, a little bit inaccurate in front of goals, so Melbourne fans aren't going to love hearing that, but in terms of being a presence, taking a strong contested and a mark that is right above the packs, he can absolutely do that. He will be a highlight reel for Melbourne, and so I love this addition for them. From an Adelaide perspective, surplus is probably a bit harsh of a phrase, but he's certainly not banging the door down for selection. He started in the team this year, missed a number of games through suspension, couldn't work his way back in, and then late in the year he did, and then there were some injury niggles, not just this year, but at various parts over his career. But the Adelaide forward line, even without McAdam, looks incredibly dynamic and dangerous. Taylor Walker was a handful of goals away from the Coleman medal, won himself an All-Australian medal. Darcy Fogarty probably had a slightly down season, but has really established himself over the past 18 to 24 months as one of the most reliable set shots at goal and a really difficult matchup. Riley Thilthorpe, one of the best young developing key talls that can play both ruck and forwards and can take a contested mark. And then you've got the likes of Rankin, one of the best small forwards in the game. Lockie Murphy, who I'm not a huge fan of, but the club love his pressure. And then a Josh Rochelle, who could be anything when we talk about a small to medium forward. So right there is 6 incredibly damaged. That's too nice to Lockie. 5 potentially incredibly damaging options through that forward line, even before McAdam could sit into that mix. So while they didn't want to lose Shane, you can see them being okay to do it, knowing full well that in 12 months' time, they're highly likely to pick up Tyler Welsh, who has some contrast, not quite as dynamic and high-flying, but another forward coming into that mix, who looks likely to be a mid to late first-round pick, albeit it's only 12 months away. So from an Adelaide perspective, they're lacking a bit of depth now, but you've still got guys like Gollant who they'd love to give some further opportunities through there. So I don't think the Crows will be too disappointed to see him go, and getting that future second will probably enable them, between that and their other second round selection, to pick up Tyler Welsh, and they'd be pretty happy in 12 months' time with how that works out. What does it mean for us from the fantasy footy perspective? Well, he's not a high scorer, is Shane. Because he's so forward 50 and forward 70 centric, any forward that's in that position, going to need a lot of scoreboard impact, a lot of conversion in front of goals to get a nice score out of him. And so if the matchup is right, I don't mind it as a kind of a loophole. Throw it on the ground in your draft team to play the matchup if it's the right opposition, like a North Melbourne, for example, where Melbourne would certainly feel like they could just pepper the goals and get him, and he gets 5-6 goals and pops a 90-plus score or 100-plus score. I think that's the best probable outcome, similar for daily fantasy players. But he's not someone in Classic you're going anywhere near. He's not getting any midfield minutes at all. He didn't get it at Adelaide, where they were desperately looking for more mids. Whereas he walks into Melbourne, where they've got arguably the best 3 midfield combo you could potentially ask for in Oliver, Petrarca, Viney, and that's not even touching the likes of Brayshaw. So he's not getting in the midfield. He is there to help fix that forward line that didn't quite function to its highest capacity. So yeah, you're not picking him in Classic, because I don't see the 20 to 30 points per game of scoring, even in a better team, which he is now at. I don't see that coming. I don't see the goals drastically going nuts in terms of going from his current average of goals per game to kicking another 1 or 2 on average. So to me, he is a daily fantasy pick, and matchup pending, I don't mind him as a plug and play option in drafts, but definitely from a Classic perspective in SuperCoach, Dream Team and AFL Fantasy, yeah, Shane's not going to help you at all. Do you agree with my take on Shane, on the Demons, and on the Crows? Do you disagree? Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can comment below and give me your take on what you think about Shane McAdam and his fantasy output in 2024. For just a couple of dollars a month, you can join our Patreon supporter group. All the details for that are in the description below, as is where you can follow us on all social media and keep up to date with us at the website, which is coachespanel.tv. Thanks for watching this video. If you're enjoying the series, make sure you follow this channel, you turn the notifications on, and every single time a player moves clubs this off-season, we will have it for you locked away on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll chat to you again soon.